Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to the Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Hey, what's happening? That would be yours truly. Welcome to the Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges. It's another Wednesday night. Happy hump day to you. And thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As Steve Harvey would say, we got a good one for you. And it is indeed a good one. It is the swimming pool. It's SWYM, the acronym SWYM for Say What You Mean. Do you know how important it is that you say what you mean? It's just as important that you mean what you say. This live stream is talk about talking. Any subject will do. I don't care what it is. We could talk about yesterday, the day before, tomorrow, next week. Anything that happened in between. We can talk about things that happened 10 years ago, something that's going on in your life. It doesn't matter, because how we listen and what we hear is the key. You know how many times someone will say something and you will hear something different, or they will say something and then mean something totally different, or you will hear something yourself and depending on how you feel that day, you will take what they're saying maybe different from how they're meaning it. They may be saying it plain and clear. So that's why we talk. That's why we complete our communication. That's why if we feel in our energy field, in our spirit, that something is not right, if we're not happy, if we're upset, if we're mad, if we have a problem with our brother, our sister, our friend, our husband, our wife, our neighbors, our co-workers, we're supposed to say, hey, listen, let's talk. And then you'll say, well, I'm tired of talking. Well, we're still living and we still have a problem, and we haven't exhausted all of the avenues, especially if someone else wants to talk. Now, if nobody wants to talk, then you have a problem. But if somebody is saying, hey, listen, I'm either open to talk or I would like to talk to you, it's worth it, because that's where we find that ultimate peace. It's what we put in. So say what you mean what you say. And if by chance you say what you mean and someone thought you meant something else, get them on the phone, sit them down, get them in the car, go sit down, have some coffee, and talk about it. Well, I have two canned guests that are coming up later on, so I'm going to take a short break. I want to say hey to Christine and Kimberly. Man, you know what? I'm going to have a party, and I'm going to invite Kimberly and Christine and all of my other friends, but you guys are going to get special upfront VIP all the time, because I appreciate you supporting me, and that's what friends do. I really do. I appreciate it. So thank you, Kimberly and Christine, and that means I've got two other people, because I'm logged on. That'll be three, and then three more just came because somebody else just walked in the building. Hey, how you doing? Thanks. Have a seat. Make yourself at home. Anyway, so we're talking about substance abuse, not food. That's the title for tonight, and it's going to be real good. And let me tell you a little bit about why I'm on this subject. I'm on the roller coaster, but I'm up right now. When you're down, that's not good. I'm on the fitness and health and exercise and weight loss roller coaster. I guess I'll say it's been a struggle based on my history in my heart and my mind. It should not be a struggle because all we have to do is make up our mind, right? Is it that easy? I found out the key to why most people either don't lose weight or can't lose weight, or when we do lose weight, like myself, we'll put it on. I lost a total of 113 pounds. I was fit. I was looking good. I was feeling good. But over time, the little old habits creep back in, and I lost about 50 pounds about 3 or 4 different times. Well, I'm up about so many pounds, and I'm working on it. I've got a goal in mind. I'm going to work on getting it back for my health, for my own self-esteem, and so that some of my clothes will fit. So I'm on day 5 of my new fast, and I'm doing my own thing. I've tried everything from everybody else. Even my buddy was on a couple of weeks ago talking about steak and eggs, and I was like, I can't wait to get on that diet. That's going to be a fun diet. Steak and eggs, for real? Well, actually, I'm doing more of an intermittent fasting, and I'm kind of documenting, and I might even look better already. I feel better. I'm a little hungry, but I think I'm giving my body the opportunity to heal and repair and to regulate, because that's one of the things, or one of the benefits, if I should say, of fasting. It's physical, mental, and even emotional. If I look like I've got energy, it's because I do. You wouldn't think that I was 3 days on no food, and then the last 2 days on just like 18 to 24 ounces of fresh juice. Well, I've got a goal in mind, and I'm going to make it this time. I'm on a mission, and I'm going to say this to you if you're watching or listening to me. You know why you're not losing weight? And you know why you're not accomplishing any of your goals? Because, like me, we don't stick to it. There's absolutely no excuse, just like there should not be any reason for there not to be peace in families and, in relationships and neighborhoods and countries, because people don't talk and we're not disciplined. We've got to discipline our mind, our body, and this thing right here. It's called the mouth. We have to do that, especially when you're putting food in it. And we're talking about food tonight. It's substance abuse, not food. And I've got some notes here. Last week, I wanted to recap on something that I said that I don't want to be misinterpreted. I said something about God not being my go-to. I didn't mean that God is not my all in all, and I am not a believer in God, because I cleared that up, and there was never any question. I just wanted to talk about it, for the sake of being clear with the difference between believing and knowing. But I made a comment, and when I was talking about not being the go-to, meaning I'm not a missionary. I'm not a church character. I'm not a church staff member. I'm not one of those people who go out and just push like that. I try to live, my life through, live my life in a good/godly way, so that I don't have to be out there pushing it. By all means, if you ask me how and where my motivation comes from, I will tell you that there's a supreme being that lives on the inside of me, and that I draw strength from, and I know that there's a super being out there, and I will say thank you, God, for even this very, very moment. With that being said, I'm gonna get on with it. I have some more notes. One thing I want you to know is, if you can't discipline yourself, what can you do? We talk a lot of junk, don't we? What we can do. But the one thing that I have discovered in my plus years of living on this planet, that the most difficult thing for most people to do is to discipline their food intake. And I'll say our food intake. But when you find those few people, that remnant that has done it and or can do it, and that those super ones that can keep it off and really be disciplined, you've got yourself something there, because I believe it kind of sort of it just goes into other parts of your life if you can discipline yourself. And that's the key. I heard a preacher say many years ago, the only difference between us and God, speaking of God, he said we were created in God's image, and I believe that. But he said the one thing that separates us from being more like our Heavenly Father is our discipline. We'll say something, won't do it, or we'll think something and won't speak it. There's something about what we know God to be, is that if he speaks something, it comes to pass. We have the ability to do that, but we have to have a strong amount of faith. And then faith without works is just talk. So I'm on that mission. I believe that I can regulate, my body weight, my blood pressure, and everything else that's, going on with my body with my diet and exercise discipline. So because I have that faith, I'm going to put it to work, and maybe you'll see me see me changing, getting more healthy behind this thing. I promised last week that maybe this week the HHS would be back in stride, but it's going to be next week for sure. I believe that the Hollywood Home Studio is getting a kind of sort of a makeover, so I'll be back in there and you won't hear this echo in this room. So thank you for your patience. The swim, I have some plans, some great things coming. I've been saying that for a long time, but getting back into the studio is going to help with some of that. Man, I've been running my mouth for a long time, haven't I? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a break. I have two guests, and you're going to love this. So stick with me. Don't move. Hold the spot you got. I'll be right back.
The Swimming Pool with Travis Bridges is a talk segment about talking. Talk about talking? Yes, talk about talking. It's designed to bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, and what we do with the information we receive during communication. The mind is automatically programmed to protect the body and soul. It displays that through each and every encounter we experience. If any part of the body is threatened, the mind will automatically issue the flight command. The flight command to retreat to safety. Well, that same command is also deployed when our ego is threatened. The ego, yes, the ego. It's so natural and common, it happens oftentimes without us even knowing. Engaging in conversation and staying focused on what is present is considered mental fitness. It strengthens our emotions and helps us to gain control of our circumstances instead of having our circumstances overtake our thinking and our very existence. It's a difficult task to achieve because our feelings, beliefs, and desires are so strong that it causes us to totally disregard even the most common or basic reasoning. This live stream is only here to bring awareness to that subconscious process. Nothing or no one is actually wrong. However, the idea of being open to anything outside of what we've already concluded is golden, especially if the new information is transparent. The SWYM developers would like to say thanks for supporting, watching, listening, and sharing this information. Now, back to the swimming pool. Let's dive in and swim.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Travis. I'm good. How are you doing?
Not bad. I just want to give you a little bit of information about my live stream before we get started. First of all, we don't say names. Of course, I say my name because I'm the host. But my audience does not know your name. They don't know who you are. They will only listen to your voice. We don't tag names or locations or businesses or images. If I can edit that, sometimes I do. And if one of my guests says something or mention a name by mistake, it's okay. But I just wanted you to know, no one will know who you are unless you tell them or they recognize your beautiful voice.
Well, thank you for that. If anybody just doesn't want to know, I'm open and always, ready to share.
Okay. With that being said, My live stream pretty much is a live stream about talking. Any subject will do. Just so happen I have a few topics throughout the week that I like to mention, and I like to usually talk about not necessarily what I'm going through or something that I will experience through someone else or something someone else may have shared with me. At this moment, I'm going to share something recently. I've been trying to change my diet, and I heard something that I want to share with you and get your feedback on in regards to food and eating. From this day forward, I'm going to change the way I speak in terms of eating. Instead of eating and feeding my body, I'm now going into a place of just nourishing my body. I think when we sit down to nourish our bodies and we go past the nourishment that we need, we slip into what we call eating. And before you know it, generations were saying, okay, it's time to eat. And eating really is an overindulgence or overindulging, in the intake of food. And listening to that this morning and getting that revelation of how we, to even say we're eating is what we actually do. But changing the way I see food in that, okay, when I sit down to partake in a meal, I'm going to be nourishing my body. It will make me more conscious of how much to eat and even what I eat. And if you notice, I'm still saying eat out of habit. So it's a new one. I've got to break that habit. And another thing, I want you to respond to that. But before I go on, I want to talk about another thing in regards to what I heard about substance abuse. The main thing that most of us, and I'll speak for myself, and when I say most of us find ourselves being addicted to, is sugar and flour and the carbohydrates that are processed. And they're processed with chemicals. And those chemicals are just like drugs or alcohol. They are addictive. Food is not addictive. I spoke with another friend this morning on this same subject, and she was telling me that she was juicing cabbage. And after I told her the story, I was like, okay, cabbage juice is not addictive. But, some of the things we put into our system, into our mouth, that is processed or that is, made of some type of substance, it is addictive. And it is why we do feel the way we do, I think, and why some of the medical conditions we have is a direct result of our food. And I know the name of the person who said, "Let thy medicine be thy food." Fortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, I'll say fortunately, at this place and time in my life, I'm reaching a place of where I'm starting to learn what I probably already knew, or starting to exercise what I've already known. And I'm just going to make this another one of the many times that I've had to start over and try to feed my body or nourish my body better, so that I can, reach the best health and the best feeling and even the best look that I can. And one more thing before I go, another thing that triggered this on my first day of this new start, which was 4 days ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like just shooting the breeze. And I said, "Hey, where are you?" And he said, "I'm at dialysis." And I said, "With who?" And he said, "Me, myself." And I said, "What? Since when?" And then he said, "Since February." And he gave me a date in the teens. So we're only talking about a month or so that one of my closest childhood friends anyway has started, the process of dialysis. And I was just taken aback by that, that, okay, he's in that condition. And, we're around the same age. We grew up together. And just hearing that just caused me to say, okay, I needed to hear this on the day that I'm making another effort and I have another opportunity to do something different to hopefully prolong my life and have even a better life. And just before I hung up, I asked him, I said, "If you don't mind me asking, what do you think caused that, and what can I do to help, ensure that I don't, have that experience?" He said, "You mean what I'm having right now?" And he's like, of course I said yes. And he said, it was the blood pressure medication that I was taking. And I said, what? How is that? He said, yeah, man, every doctor that I saw told me that the blood pressure medication that I was on, it did help my blood pressure, but slowly affected something else. And if there was anything that I would do differently, first of all, I would not have taken the blood pressure medicine, and I would have changed my diet and lose some weight. So that is something that I am really, shocked by, and grateful that I got that opportunity to hear that information. We talked about some other things too, but hearing that information was a blessing to me, and I'm grateful that I'm at a place that I can do it again. And just that I lost 113 pounds at one time, and I was doing so good, but I picked some of it up, and about 3 or 4 different times over the past 10 or 12 years, I found myself back in the place. And I'm believing that, as I said to my family through our chat, if you fall 7 times and get up 8, you're good. So right now, I did fall a few months ago, and I'm back up, and I'm making the best of my life and my nutrition and my fitness. So thanks for listening to that long intro, and I will let you respond to anything that you can remember. If you don't, then I'll remind you of some things I want specific feedback on.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I am just truly honored to be in this conversation with you. I'm blown away that how God works, and how our connection comes and goes, and I also want to honor you for the work that you have been doing in your life since I've known you. You've done some amazing things. Yes, I've witnessed you lose over 100 pounds. And, basically what I want to say, Travis, is we need, all of us human beings need reminders every now and again. For some reason, it's very easy for us to go off track. I just want to honor you because I'm just I'm so admiring you for your ability to get up, brush yourself off, and start again. And, going to try to remember, some of the things that you mentioned.
I'll help you. The first thing I talked about was food. That what we're addicted to substance. It's called substance abuse for a reason.
So that's a very good point. And one of the things that I learned, addiction is really a good thing, good word that you use, because, sometimes we assume that, addiction only relates to, drug use, substance abuse. But it's really, at the bottom line of it, there are parasites living within us. And these parasites thrive on chemicals. They thrive on sugar. They thrive on acidity and acidic foods. And it's not just foods that these energies, I want to call them, that live within each and every one of us. They thrive on the acidity in our stress levels, in the way we're thinking. So there are a whole list of foods in particular that are acidic. And, these are the things that parasites and viruses and pathogens within us like to thrive on. And the more we feed it these things, the bigger they become. We can't get away from parasites because that's just part of who we are. But there's a way to keep them at bay, to keep ourselves out in front, happy, thriving, doing well. And, the first place that I like to start is choosing wholesome, whole foods. Mm-hmm. Foods are alkaline in their nature. There are variations of alkalinity. Some whole foods have a more acidic base, And, but all in all, everything that you could thrive on that is whole food, whole in nutrition, meaning from the ground to the table, meaning unprocessed, meaning nobody else tampers with it. The more pure you can get to ground to the table, the more you are enhancing that natural way that you're meant to be. And, you minimize those pathogens that want to be fed within you. And those pathogens, they communicate because it's energy. Energy communicates. Energy is all around us. Energy is what you think. Energy is what you eat. Energy is what you indulge in. So when you partake of pure whole foods from the ground to the table, you're putting in fuel. You're putting in love. You're putting in peace. You're putting in joy, compassion, everything. Everything that's good that you can possibly do for yourself is coming from a whole food perspective in terms of the food. Now, I want to remind you that it's not just food, because it's energy. And some of the energy is coming from food, but some of the energy is also coming from your mind, how you feel about yourself. Who are you? What are you telling yourself about who you are? We're special, we're powerful. Each and every human being is powerful, special in a way that I can't even describe. I mean, we're very special to God. So anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent because, where I am right now in my evolution and in my, meditative state, I'm just aware of how special and how beautiful and how wonderful I am. And that's not just me. And so you mentioned something about nutrition, about giving yourself nutrition. It's like giving yourself love. Having intercourse with the food you eat and loving yourself.
I'm going to start looking at it like that also. And I think it's going to be a big help for me to have heard that and to be able to relate to that. Now that I've made this change, I've made several changes, but this is a little different because I'm going to go on record in saying the moment he told me that was the last day that I was going to take the medication that I was prescribed. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the doctors or my health. I just believe, just like what was confirmed, medication is a chemical, and how, although it may help one area, it has a tendency to damage something else that we don't get told about. And I believe in my heart that if I would use the favorite D word, if I would discipline myself, that I don't have to be on medications or have to suffer, the way that I do. I've always known it, but I haven't had the discipline or, exercised the discipline to do something about it. So, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to get a hold of myself and stop making excuses just because something tastes good or I like it, that I'm going to continue to feed myself it. So I'm on it again, and I'm just excited about the new journey.
I want to interrupt you because I really don't want it to be. I don't want it to be that you leave with an idea that you don't deserve to have what you like. Sometimes it's okay to treat yourself. Everything in balance. The key to it is not denying oneself, but understanding balance and understanding how you're feeling so that you are able to make the adjustments necessary before they harm you.
I totally get that, and I'll say what I've heard that has been said at any kind of substance abuse meeting, narcotics and AA, how they say the best way to win is to not get into the ring with it And I think,
Okay.
when people say things like treat yourself, if I was to go get those cookies that I like, it would be doing the same thing that a narcotics or an alcoholic would do when they go to the bar or to the drug spot, just because they want to treat themselves. It really is the same. And things that I like just happen to be things that are necessarily that things that don't like me, like these cookies I'm talking about. And I think it's a little less intense than, the hard drugs and the alcohol. And I get what you're saying, and I will keep that in mind. And I can only imagine that once I reach a place where I think I have disciplined myself, then maybe I will step off and treat myself. So,
and I honestly believe that is the key. Get to a place where you have experienced bliss, health, energy. Experience. That wonderful feeling of looking great and feeling great from the work that you've done, to understand what it feels like. Because, like I said, I have had health issues. I've had issues with my thyroid. I've had issues with fibroids. I no longer have a complete thyroid. I've had part of it surgically removed.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order for me to thrive, I have to eat clean. The minute I don't eat clean, my system is not going to function, and I'm going to have mucus overload clogging, the areas that I'm predisposed to stressing and blocking. So my area is in my thyroid, and the mucus tends to build in that area and not flow. So in order for me to see goodness and wellness, I gotta cleanse, and I gotta eat right, and I gotta think right. So I've been doing it for the past 8 years, so I know the feeling. Recently I went to Australia, actually not so recent,
mm-hmm.
just before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And while in Australia, I couldn't really be on my diet as strict as I wanted to be. I'm used to having my green juices homemade. I'm used to making a salad. Preparing my own food. And vegan, plant-based, whole food.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was there, I couldn't. I have a condition that I'm always considerate of. But then I found a way to love myself even while I was in Australia. And I found a way also to minimize those moments when I was dabbling, because I'm on vacation. I don't have, so I went to Indian restaurants, and I had lots of, rich foods with, all their spices that are not necessarily whole food based all the time. Sometimes they're using powder, they're using canned stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That my system is very sensitive to. And, and I'm also in the stadium because I went to Australia to watch tennis. And all that I saw there were hot dogs, hamburgers, fries. And I'm there sometimes from morning till night because the people that I went with, they're there. These are hardcore tennis people.
Mm-hmm.
So I would indulge in things that I would not normally indulge in, and I had to understand, okay, how is this making me feel? I've been doing my cleanse for a very long time, years. I'm not able to function the way I'm normally able to function. So I'm going to dabble a little, and I'm going to have some fun, but I need to make sure that somehow I keep my system balanced. So what would I do? I normally take aloe vera on a routine basis.
Mm-hmm.
I normally do green juices
Mm-hmm.
on a routine basis. Those are two mainstays for me that, keep me, because the green juices give me nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
and the aloe cleanses me. So as I'm cleaning and I'm adding the nutrition, I'm actually giving myself a chance to feel better and to build my immune system so that I can continue to thrive. So when I was at the stadium, I would have fries. Travis, I would have fries. Every day I had the fries.
I can't
And then
even
I had
imagine
an
you
aloe
eating
in my
fries.
pocket. I had a piece of aloe, at least 1 or 2 inches. And after I eat the fries, I would go ahead and I would partake of my aloe, and then I would drink copious amounts of water. And I stayed in balance because before I got to the tennis, I found places that sold green juices. They had places all around town where I could buy and when I say green juice, I don't mean green. I mean vegetable juice.
Right.
So and you can have a vegetable juice. You could have it in a smoothie, blended, or you could have an extracted juice where they just pump out the juice and throw it. So the variety is good. Variety in what's in the juice and the type of juice that you might have.
Right.
Depending on also, so for me, the extracted juice is more potent for helping me, when I'm feeling like I'm struggling.
Right.
The blended juice has a lot of fiber in it, which helps to improve my excretion process.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the point I'm making with that little story is to say to you that there is a way, once you have allowed yourself, time, and only you know how much time you need to get that discipline going. Because discipline comes from repeating something over and over again and training your body to understand what it feels like to feel good from from the discipline of whatever it is you're doing. And so the minute you then fall out of the pattern,
Right.
like and because right away you go, you know what? I'm not loving myself. I'm not having good, high quality food intercourse with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to love myself because, I'm worthy. I
Okay.
matter.
We're running a little bit out of time, but I want to ask you a couple of quick questions before you go, just to get your opinion. I've known you for quite a few years now, and I've always known you for the most part to be fit and at least nutritionally conscious of what you eat. And I just want you, for myself, but I'm asking for my audience too. What do you do when you don't have that discipline? If you know better and can't? It's just like, a person who's addicted to drugs or alcohol, they know they shouldn't be doing it and it's difficult for them. Food is a little more socially acceptable, but just for someone who is as nutrition conscious as you are, how do you get to that place of discipline with your food?
I love myself. I love myself. And I want to live a long time. I want to look good. I was married and divorced. And, I was divorced in my 48th, 49th year of life. And I realized I have a second chance at life. I want to love myself. I want to be here. I want to have the things I want. And I want to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. And in order to get there, it starts with the food. So if I don't, if I want to attract the best things in my life, then I've got to start by putting in the wonderful things into my body so that my mind can become clear, so that I can have all of the other things that I want to have. And so the food, like I mentioned, and I'm not going to, because I know we're running out of time, but get up in the morning and say thank you to God for the day. Thank you for unexpected, amazing outcomes. For the blessings that you've already had, and for the blessings that are coming.
Awesome.
Be grateful.
I'm going to translate that into the first thing you said is loving yourself. You made a comment about having intercourse with your food and nourishing your body. And I think I'm going to take that for myself, and hopefully my audience will do the same thing. Loving yourself enough to realize that this is how you communicate and show yourself love by
Let me just say this before you go, that now that I have been, doing this for some time. When I'm out of sync with loving myself, I have anxiety. I have aches and pains. I feel less worthy. I'm always in need. When I am in love with myself and I'm putting the right things into my body, I start to feel good. I start to feel abundant. I start to feel happy. I look great. I feel good. I mean, that's it.
Okay. Well, I will receive that. I can't thank you enough for your time. It's been a long journey for me, and I'm just back on the path again. I will love myself more as I do already, and my nourishment will definitely change, and I'm believing that I will be able to maintain it this time. I'm grateful.
Do you have that book that I gave you one time?
I have every book you've given me, yes.
Awesome. Right. Well, it's not a bad idea just to take a look at two things. One, acidic foods that cause harm, that feed parasites, and two, alkaline foods, healing foods that enhance you and your journey and your abundance in every way that you can imagine.
One quick question before you go. This is important. Is there any whole foods that create acidities or that are harmful? Because I'm trying to get away from using the word eating and even food and staying with nourishments, because there are some things that we know are high in sodium and have a high level of acidity or acid.
Yeah, you will find that there are some things that have, but the idea is to get your body cleansed for at least 30 days and beyond, so that once you have cleansed and allowed your body to heal and to get rid of acidity at large, then you can take in, in balance all of what nature has provided for you. So when you're out of balance and you eat and you're too high in potassium, bananas are not going to be good. There are certain acidic foods that are, more acidic in nature, like oranges, limes, lemons. Mm-hmm. But when your body is in balance, these things harmonize you. So anytime that you're finding you're having an allergy to a particular whole food, it's because your body needs a cleanse. The body's shouting to you to cleanse generally, so that you are, able to, be more in harmony with every food that is whole food.
Awesome. I'm going to take that. And listen, since we did run out of a little bit of time, and now that I know how to interview you, I would like for you to come back at another time and chat with me. I really appreciate that.
I'm open, Travis. I'm so, it's my passion to one of the things that I have on my list of desires is I thank God for allowing me to reach millions of people through my work in holistic health, mm-hmm. and to influence many people through my work in holistic health. So I'm always open. I'm always, I give it away. I'll sell it, mm-hmm. whatever it takes. I'm always here for my fellow human beings to share and to love.
Okay, well, maybe even next week I can get you back. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much, and I look forward to chatting with you again.
Awesome. Thank you for reaching out.
You got it. Have a good evening. We'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Blessings. Bye.
Mighty Horn Music. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Like, share, subscribe. And thanks for tuning in.
Yo.
Hey, what's up, man?
What up, dude?
You are on my live stream right now. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, well, I was talking with a nutritionist. You know, I told you I was starting my fast that day we talked last. I think it was, when was that we talked? Friday or Saturday? Friday.
That's correct.
And I told you that I was starting a fast, and today is actually day 4. And so far, so good. And what I want to say to you is I shared that with the nutritionist. On my live stream, I don't say anybody's name ever. And when I spoke to her, I didn't say your name. I just told her a very true and dear, friend of mine from way back in the day, was sharing an experience. And I told her how I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And you say, hey, I'm at dialysis. And then I said, with who? And you said me. And then you told me sometime in February was when you started. But I asked her, I told her, about our conversation. And if you don't mind, with my audience, just sharing with me, what you told me, because it really, gripped me when you said, the reason you think you were in that condition, with having to take the dialysis is because of the blood pressure medication. How sure are you that that's why you're in that condition?
Well, the thing about blood pressure cures one thing and destroys another.
You mean the medication?
When you're taking blood pressure medications, they tell you the side effects, or you always get a paper with side effects. And what that is, it's only telling you that, okay, this blood pressure will help lower your blood pressure here, but in the process, to blow back to it is that it will destroy something else in the process slowly. So by me being on blood pressure for over 10 years, it damaged my kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it is causing the effect of not knowing this. So what happened was that my kidneys started getting weaker and weaker, and once that starts happening, it's like a domino effect. And once it starts, you can't come back and say, okay, let's fix your kidney, because once it starts, it's downhill.
Right. So how are you so sure? How are you sure that it's the medication? How do you know it was? How do you know it was the medication that caused your kidney failure?
Well, my kidney doctor and my cardiologist always told me this. That's what medicine does. Medicines, period. It cures one thing, and in the process, and it destroys another. So, in order for you to get one thing fixed, it's gonna tear up something else.
So
to maintain that.
Of course, now that you know this and you're in this condition, and I know it's as you said, once it starts downhill, it's might be too late. And I believe everything. I believe in miracles, and who's to say you can't come back. I know what medicals say, but I believe in a higher power that says maybe you can reverse that, with the right kind of medication and or treatment. But I want to ask you about, whenever you started the blood pressure medication, what is it that you think you could have done differently, on the medication to avoid having to take it, and now, with the dialysis?
The thing that I think that I could have done to prevent all this is basically taking care of your body, listening to your body, and doing the right thing as far as staying healthy, or as if you feel yourself starting to gaining weight, then go ahead and start a nutritionist diet, or I would say an organic, to where it prevents you from going on blood pressure medicine. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would have done if I had known better.
Right.
I think I would have went that way, and then it would have been a way of life when you've done that, because that's something you're used to.
Right.
No different than when you're taking blood pressure medicine. You're used to taking it. So you're just basically training yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't realize that. Yo.
Hey, what's up, man?
No different than when you're taking blood pressure medicine. You're used to taking it. So you're just basically training yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't realize that, but that's what it is.
So the key word would be discipline.
Most likely, because you gotta understand. Okay, beforehand, I was not trained to take pills, blood pressure medicine. Now that your body, you done train yourself to take it, it's something that your body craves for, or you gotta have in order to maintain your discipline as far as lowering your blood pressure.
Right, and just having good health in general.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's perfect timing for me. I'm grateful that I do, have at least this opportunity now, and hopefully, I haven't done too much damage, and that I can at least try to start, reversing anything that could have been, started that I don't know about. I'm grateful today, and, that I'm in a position where I can make that decision, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take your advice. And I'm going to listen to my body.
Listening to your body, dude.
Meaning, because I see that I'm overweight, I need to change my diet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if not, it's just like you pick the one thing and destroying another in the process.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really would tell you to listen to your body, and if your body's telling you that you're tired, that's like saying, go ahead and fix that.
Right. Right. So tiredness is one of those signs that you're not in good health, being tired all the time.
Yep, that's pretty much.
Did you experience that often?
Considering in the type of business that I'm in, yeah, I did. But I wouldn't listen. I kept pushing. But like I said, it's all about listening to your body and doing the right thing, to maintain your body. Because your body's a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. And it only functions according to what you put in it.
Mm-hmm. True.
So if you're not taking care of it, then you're tearing it down. And then by you processing, trying to fix it and get it back in working conditions, you're putting other bad substances in there to fix what you done already done destroyed.
What would you say the main food that you probably ate that may have contributed to maybe your blood pressure or your weight gain, and now maybe, the dialysis condition? What is the main food or the main area that you would have avoided or are trying to avoid now?
One thing that I honestly can say that's not good for anyone is processed foods, and it's those meats that are truly not good for you. It may taste good, but it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But your body is really having to fight to process it, having to fight to eliminate it. So it's like you putting your body in overdrive. You're putting your liver in overdrive, you're putting your kidneys in overdrive, you're putting your stomach in overdrive, you're putting your heart in overdrive to fight off impurities that we put in our bodies. You know what I mean?
I really do. And I thank you for doing this on the spot. And sometimes, you may not be able to help yourself, but if you can pass it along, maybe
right.
you can help somebody else to help somebody
right.
else. So I'm going to take what you said in stride, and I'm going to definitely take advantage of it. Even as we speak right now, I want to share something with you that I came up with in this newness, that I'm into. We talk about substance abuse, and I was listening to a podcast when, the speaker was saying processed food is substance. It's made out of chemicals for the most part, and it's not food. And only processed food and chemicals are what we become addicted to, because there's no natural food that's addictive. As much as I like mangoes, I'm not gonna, I don't have to have them. There's no food no natural whole food that's addictive, but the chemicals, and you can find things that we like to eat the most that are processed, they are addictive, and it's not considered even food. It's called substance. So instead of sitting down, to eat, we're sitting down to take our fix. Processed food is substance. It's made out of chemicals for the most part, and it's not food. And only processed food and chemicals are what we become addicted to, because there's no natural food that's addictive. As much as I like mangoes, I'm not gonna, I don't have to have them. There's no food no natural whole food that's addictive, but the chemicals, and you can find things that we like to eat the most that are processed, they are addictive, and it's not considered even food. It's called substance. So instead of sitting down, to eat, we're sitting down to take our fix. And I said I was going to stop using the word eat and start using the word nourishing my body, and it'll change the way I put food in it. Whenever I look at okay, is it time to nourish my body? I will choose nourishment that's going to be productive for my body instead of counterproductive. So instead of saying I'm going to eat, I'm going to nourish my body, and instead of putting in chemical processed food, I'll look for things that are more natural and more nutritious for me.
My brother, I wish that we as Americans would go back into the day when every family was out in the garden growing their own.
I can't hear you. Your phone is breaking up a little bit. Your phone is breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said
I wish that we as a people would go back to when your family, my family were growing gardens.
Exactly. I remember.
And we would have, the veggies that we needed in order to sustain ourselves, instead of going to the grocery store and picking up a can of this, a can of that.
A pack of this or a bottle of that.
Huh?
I said a pack of this, a box of that.
Yeah, and it's what I call we want a quick fix instead of doing it the right way, and that's no different than blood pressure medicine. You want a quick fix instead of doing it the right way, even though it's a long process, but it's the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this and I'm going to let you go. And thanks again. I want to definitely have you on again, if you will. But
Okay.
before, when you talk to me, I decided that moment, and you know, people in the medical field and even some of my family already saying, you better not stop what the doctor says. The moment you told me that, I was already starting my fast. I refused to take another blood pressure pill again. And because I have the control, I guess if it gets out of control, then sure, I can reach for that. But now that I have the ability to take control, I'm going to take control, and I'm going to take your advice. I'm not going to take that medication at this point because it's not necessary.
Please do, bro, because, I mean, there's no one in my family ever been on dialysis. You know, it's like I said, it's based on how long you've been taking blood pressure medicine, because you got to look at the long run. In the long run, it's going to help something, but it's going to destroy something else in the process, and you don't know what it's going to do.
Well, I'm going to take that as good medicine and a good word. And all we need now is for somebody to sing a song, and we can take up an offering, because you just preached, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, listen, I'll be in touch, man. Come back on again with me.
All right, will do.
All right, have a good one.
All right, later.
10-4.